Coming up, Steph Curry has now made more threes than anyone in NBA history. This is Locked On Now.
The biggest games, the best performances, expert analysis. You are Locked On Now.
You are listening to Locked On Now NBA, local experts on the biggest stories around the hardwood. I'm your host, Kim Becker, and thanks so much for making Locked On Now your first listen every weekday morning. Our Locked On NBA hosts are here to help break down everything from Tuesday, including the fact that Steph Curry took over as the official three-point king. And of course, he is part of our best performance.
The best performance.
Hold up.
I mean, we've all known that Steph Curry is the greatest shooter of all time for a while now, but last night the numbers lined up with that claim as Steph Curry took over the top spot for three-pointers made in a player's career. Ray Allen is no longer on top, and Locked On Warriors recaps the historic night.
Cyrus Satsas with Locked On Warriors, bringing you this Locked On Now update. Stephen Curry is officially the three-point king. He officially broke the record at Madison Square Garden against the New York Knicks. I'm reporting this at halftime of the game on tomorrow's edition of Locked On Warriors. I'm joined by Mark Haynes, Warriors beat reporter of Clutch Sports, and together we're going to dissect this game, break it down, and analyze it. But for now, letting you know, Stephen Curry broke the record in the first quarter, nothing but net. Interesting to note, Larry Riley, the Warriors' former general manager, was sitting next to Stephen Curry's former Davidson head coach. Riley, incredibly underrated as a GM, responsible for drafting Stephen Curry, drafting Klay Thompson. For that, he was rewarded by being demoted to director of scouting, where he was helped draft Draymond Green, Harrison Barnes. He also traded for Andrew Bogut. So kudos to Larry Riley, because Steph's daughter Riley is named after him. Also of note, Stephen Curry's parents were in the crowd. First time they've been seen together, at least in the same vicinity, since their ugly separation. So that was kind of fascinating. And Reggie Miller made an interesting point. In his era, teams averaged 5 3-point attempts per game. In today's game, teams averaged 34 3-point attempts per game. Congratulations again, Stephen Curry, for being the new three-point king. We'll talk about that and more in the next edition.
The biggest game.
The Brooklyn Nets lost James Harden, LaMarcus Aldridge, and others before last night's game against Toronto, but Brooklyn still had Kevin Durant, and he found a way to lead a makeshift lineup to a win over the Raptors. Locked On Nets is here with the recap.
Doug Norrie, Locked On Nets here, following an epic 131-129 victory by the Brooklyn Nets over the Toronto Raptors in overtime. Tons of Nets out of this game. James Harden, LaMarcus Aldridge, Bruce Brown, Paul Millsap, all out because of the COVID protocols. They called on the rookies for this game. The rookies responded. Kessler Edwards, 44 minutes. David Duke Jr., 38 minutes. Just big shot after big shot. They take a full-strength Raptors team to overtime, pull out the win. What can you say about this game? This is why you watch. It was awesome from start to finish. Full fight. Kevin Durant leading the way, obviously. Everyone stepping up. Next man up mentality for the Brooklyn Nets. This is why you watch basketball. We're going to be talking about the whole thing over on the Locked On Nets podcast. Check us out over there. 131-129 Brooklyn Nets beat the Toronto Raptors.
The Raptors fell in a heartbreaker to a hobbled Brooklyn team, and Locked On Raptors explains the disappointing loss.
Not quite enough. I'm Sean Woodley here from Locked On Raptors to break down the Raptors' 131-129 overtime loss to the Brooklyn Nets on Tuesday night. And this was a weird game. It probably shouldn't have even happened, frankly. The Nets came into this game with just 8 players available due to a ton of guys, including James Harden, being added to the COVID protocols before the game. And honestly, I thought they might cancel it before the game went down, but they did not do that. And the Nets, with 8 players, take down the Raptors, mostly because the Raptors had about 4 guys of the 10 they had available show up for this one. It was pretty rough stuff after the 4 core guys for this team. Scotty Barnes had an incredible game, 23, 12, and 5, maybe his best game as a rookie so far, all the while guarding Kevin Durant. Pascal Siakam had an efficient 25 points. Fred VanVleet had 31. Gary Trent Jr. was hitting big shots all night. After that, not much in the way of help. Chris Boucher, I thought, was a big reason the Raptors lost this one. A huge defensive breakdown in the final play of regulation leads to Patty Mills knocking down a game-tying 3 to send it to OT. He missed a big assignment. Rebounding late in the game as well as David Duke Jr., 6'5", crept in and grabbed one of his 6 offensive boards in the game, and that's really where the Raptors lost this one. They got killed on the defensive glass. They could not hold Kevin Durant down as he kind of just like surrounded by humps and was doing an amazing job of lifting everybody up. It was a really impressive Nets performance, a really awesome Kevin Durant game. And you can get sad if you want about it if you're a Raptors fan, but frankly, the thing that matters here, as it has been all season long, is Scotty Barnes looks like the real deal. 23, 12, and 5 again. He was just truly unbelievable. Nearly won this game at the buzzer as well with a heave that just rimmed out. He was outstanding, and ultimately, the Raptors might lose games, but if Scotty Barnes is going to look like that, it doesn't really matter because good things are coming to Toronto with Scotty Barnes in town for sure.
That's a wrap for us here at Locked On Now. Thanks so much for making us your first listen every weekday. For more on the NBA and your team, make your second listen Locked On NBA and your team's Locked On podcast. I'm Kim Becker. This has been Locked On Now. Locked On, your team every day.